Hey, I'm Saif, and today we're gonna create something similar to this. We'll make an enemy that has cliff or edge detection and also detects when it collides with something, like so. Then it changes direction. We'll also make the enemy in a way that when it collides with the player, it will reset the whole scene. So the player is basically dying, like when he's touching the enemy. So I set it up this project with a simple player and some collision shapes to have something to walk on. The player can walk, he can jump, and he has a rectangle collision. If you don't know how to do this setup here, you can check out my previous video where I'll teach you a little bit about prototyping in general, and we also cover the basics about how to add a player to a scene, how to make him jump, how to make him run, and how to actually make this feel good. So for adding the enemy, let's open a new tab here. And first we make our node setup. So let's, I want to change, right click, change type, and then we go to the character body 2D. This is the same base node we use for our main character. So we have it here, double click, and let's name it enemy. Then we can use an animated sprite 2D, like if you have some sprites and animations ready, but for now we are good with a simple sprite 2D. Because we just want to give it a simple look, it's just for prototyping. So let's use the same icon here as we use for our player, but a little bit smaller. Then we will need a collision shape, because we need something that detects when the player is touching it. This is actually shape for it, so collision shape. And we also need a raycast 2D. Raycast is like a sensor. Yeah, you can compare a raycast 2D like a feeler of an insect. I think that describes it the most accurate. Let's now scale it and give it a collision shape. So for the player, when I go to transform here while selecting the player node, I am on the sprite 2D on this scale on x 0.2 and it's 0.3. So let's make it a little bit smaller, like so, like a little square maybe. So now we switch over to the collision shape, and then we give it here on the right a rectangle shape. Then everything we do is aligning it. So I'm not going over the edge here, being a little bit more generous is often better for the player. So it's linked here. Let's maybe fine adjust it a little bit so it doesn't go over the edge here. That's what you see here is the raycast 2D, which is facing downwards at the moment. And this is exactly the thing we need now. We, I think, have to fix the position a little bit later on, but for now we are fine. I will place the enemy here in the level so we can test it whenever we feel to or feel like to. After we edit the enemy to the scene, it should appear here with the axis meet. Maybe it's a little bit small. Oh no, I don't want to change it here. I wanted to change it in the original. Let's double the size here. And the same for this one. And slightly going down. Save it. And here we go. Now it's a little bit bigger. I gave it a standard script by pressing here when you have no script attached to it. And now we can see it's the same like the basic player script. There's not much difference here. So, okay, so what I did here, I just deleted everything in the enemy script except extends character body 2D. So let's build it up from the base. Let's start with some variables that, for example, determine how fast the enemy can walk, so you can adjust it later. We will also, to be on the safe side, determine the gravity. Yeah, let's give it some values. Gravity and something for the direction at the start. Direction at start. And yeah, if you need it for the explanation, it's like one. Oh, that was German. Is right. And -1 is left in this case. We will need a reference to the raycast. These things in hashtags, they do nothing in the script. They're just for note taking. So you can leave them or copy them if you feel to raycast 2D. So we do on ready var ground_check, and referencing is easy. You can just drag and drop it, and there we go. We need the func physics process delta. There it is. And apply the gravity. If not is on, there it is. If not is on floor. Velocity y. Then you need this plus equal sign here. Gravity times delta. Important for the frame rate. Yeah, oops, we are still inside the function. That's important. Don't forget the tab here. We have the horizontal movement, which is velocity x. We're moving on the x-axis from left to right. Velocity x, direction times speed. And actually execute the movement. Therefore we got the move and slide in Godot. So we will need, what is wrong here? Oh, direction. Yeah, now we're fine. Change direction. If a cliff or wall is detected, that is next. So if is on wall, there we got the wall. Foreground check. Where does this come from? Foreground check dot is colliding. Direction -1. So that's actually for change direction. I don't need it here again, I think. That's clear. Or should be. And then we also need to adjust or change raycast direction, because when the enemy turns around after detecting an edge, also the raycast should turn around to detect the next possible wall or cliff on the other side. So we have an update raycast direction here, like so. And then, of course, this is missing. Therefore, we will need func update raycast. Okay, let's just copy it here before I do a misspelling or something like that. There we go. And yeah, align raycast to facing to new movement direction. So ground check, target position, there we got it, equals vector 2. So we have the direction times 2020. Oh, these misspellings all the time. Yeah. So let's save it. We go back to the world and then let's change the view here. There's the enemy. And oh, if you're wondering why this is all the time visible, these collisions, you go to debug, visible collision shapes. If I turn it off and do the play testing, you would see nothing here. But if I activate it, we can actually start. And yeah, it's not working. It's shaking a little bit. Oh, and I could push it. Okay, back to the script. I should have forgot this here. This exclamation mark before ground check. I think the rest is totally fine. So I just changed it, and now if we test it, the enemy base is working. The red arrow is the raycast. It turns around, works also like this. And now what we want to do is letting the enemy kill the player on contact and resetting the scene. Yeah, but before that, let's make sure everything collides on the correct collision layers. So if we go to the player here, we can open this collision tab and the inspector tab. Let's do that. And maybe let's put the player itself on the layer 1. And for the ground and the enemy, we have masks 2 and 3. And then we go to the level, which is just this one asset here. And therefore, on the upper node, the static body 2D, if you hover with the mouse, you can see what type is it. Let's go to collision, and then it's like layer 2. And we have the mask for the player, which is 1, and for the enemy, which is going to be 3. Then to the enemy, this is level has to be 2. Player is 1. And then we have enemy 3. So the mask will be 1 and 2. Yeah. And before nothing works and we wonder why, we also have to go into the raycast 2D. And there we want to activate the collision mask for the player and also for the ground. Yeah, and I looked back at my script after some time and I changed some details, like the direction of the raycast. I placed it just in front of the sprite, facing downwards. And I also adapted the script a little bit more. So actually, I really changed a little. We also, of course, have gravity and speed. I made it a little bit slower. I have the raycast distance here. And I also added a variable for the direction change. On some approaches, it could be that the collision is not correctly detected, and I want to give it a cooldown. So a time window before it will be able again to change direction. Depending on your approach, if you want to let the enemy kill the player or just change the direction immediately, this could help later. So yeah, I reference the raycast 2D and the sprite 2D. This is for the direction. This is for the direction timer. Add some errors here. And also have some collision checking here. I will just scroll slowly down and you can pause the video if you like to. So this works better for me, but I think you could also change, also use the old version if you like to. And now finally, let's come to killing the player. Yeah, this stuff will not interfere with our enemy script. So we're opening a new tab, and what I want to add is an area 2D. Oh, that was actually the type I was looking for. So there we go. And let's name it kill zone. So that's the thing that should result in the scene reload when the player is colliding with it. I'm making sure it's on the right layer and mask. And now, yeah, let's save. Let's save for now. And I can now drag the kill zone into the enemy tab. Yeah, there's still a warning. So it wants a collision shape, and yeah, let's give him the collision shape 2D. This of course needs a shape which is currently empty. We also go for a rectangular thing, and to not cause problems with the other collision, I just want to make sure I make it just slightly bigger so the player will collide correctly with this thing. Yeah, we open a script or create a script in the area 2D, and then on the right side next to the inspector tab there is the node tab. We can connect body entered signal and write some logic to it. So yeah, for testing I just want to type print die. Yeah, let's do die, and we could directly go back to the scene and see if the output is correct. So let's actually test it and see what happens when we touch the enemy. Yeah, it says die down in the debugger, so that's good. Back to the script of the area 2D. We just need one more simple line. Get tree, and we wanna reload the current scene. And that should be it. If we now go back to our world and play the current scene. Yeah, the scene is reloaded when we touch the enemy, the collision works, the patrolling works, we're fine. So thanks for watching, I hope you had fun and see you next time. Bye bye.